Hello, and welcome to the latest episode of the Podcaster's Guide to the Galaxy, the show that puts you in control of whether you decide to sit and listen to our ill-informed opinions or just go outside for some socially distanced exercise. You can think of us as the A-team of pop fiction, but probably with a different letter at the beginning. Probably at least a mid-alphabet letter, to be honest, and where at the end of each show, we are captured and sent back to prison for the crimes we have most certainly committed. Recently appointed supreme leader of this ragtag group of misfits by a secret and anonymous single vote, my name is Rich, your suave and roguishly attractive guide to this unsettling universe where a Star Trek pun could literally lurk around every corner. With much further ado, it's now my pleasure to introduce to you the three other disingenuous disciples of discussion. In the red corner, fighting out of Norfolk, England, and weighing in on everything whether we ask him or not, he's the man who puts boar in board gaming and the yarp in LARP. Please welcome Tom.
Woo, yeah, go me.
Next up, we have the man who once described Die Hard 4 as wah, it was brilliant watching it pissed, mate. Wah. He's got the emotional range of Bruce Willis and the hairline to match. It's Jason.
Hello.
Jason's film reviews there, still less irritating than listening to Mark Kermode. And last, possibly least, this Pokemon hails from coastal regions where it prowls the promenades, dealing out fair but certainly harsh audible judgments on an admittedly wretched populace. He stole a Commodore from a children's ward, and he's got a filthy habit for Jessica Rabbit. It's Daisy!
I fucking hate Pokemon.
Okay, on this week's Cacophony of Cobblers, we take a Thanosian look at the films of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, clutching our Infinity Stones before clicking half the movies into sweet non-existence in a shocking act of cinemacide we like to call the Snappening.
Over to you, Tom.
Smooth, very smooth. What would you do if you were forced by an evil, purple-chinned, bald villain? Yes, Jason, I am talking about you. What would you do if you were forced to wipe out half the population of the Marvel Multiverse films with a snap of your fingers? Which ones would you choose? Some of the choices are probably very easy. There are always going to be films out of 22 or 23 films, depending on where you draw the line. There are always going to be a few that you don't particularly like. But can you wipe out half of them and have reason to do so? That's what we're going to find out in the Snappening.
Yeah.
I see those fingers. Really want to see those fingers.
Sounds like a poetry night. How did we find this? I thought this would be relatively easy, and then when I was like, oh, but I like the Avengers films, and I like two of those three Iron Man or four films or whatever, or one of them, and all of a sudden I had to delete 4 or 5 films that actually I was quite fond of.
I had to do the same thing. I had to really get rid of a couple of films that I really enjoy.
So what we're going to do is we're going to go through in multiverse story order, chronological order in which the story events happen. So we're going to start with Captain America, the First Avenger, and I'm just going to say this is an easy one. I love the Captain America films. I personally think that of the different character stories, I think Captain America is the best one, and I think you've got to keep Captain America, the First Avenger.
100%.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Great.
Lovely noise.
Yeah. No argument there. It's not an amazing film, but like I say, the Captain America.
It's not as good as the later ones, but it's pretty good.
No. Yeah, it holds up really well.
Can I just say for the listeners, if you don't hear much of Finney in this particular section, it's because, as usual, he's done fuck all prep for this and has barely watched any of these films. So
I haven't watched that film at all. Actually.
All he had to do
I've never
was
seen
watch
Captain
23
America.
fucking films in a week. That's all he had to do.
You should watch. You should watch the first Captain America, if only because it's the only Marvel film that I'm aware of that has a cameo from Stanley Tucci in it, and he's one of my favourite actors of all time. Whenever he appears, he's brilliant.
Yeah, he's very good in that. Okay.
Actually, really gives it some heart. Okay, so Captain America, we're agreed we're keeping. Then let's move on to the early 90s storytelling. So Captain Marvel.
I like Captain Marvel.
that was on my list to get rid of, just because there are other films. It's because there are other films I prefer, and it had to make up the numbers. I like it, just not as much as some of the other ones.
I came close to getting rid of it, I must admit. Not a reflection on the quality of the film necessarily, but just as you get towards sort of 11 films, you start to have to really, really get rid of ones that you like. But I kept it.
Yeah.
Personally, I've kept it in existence. I think it's a fun film. It's a good origin story.
I mean, it's, and this is with the caveat. Yeah, this is one of the ones that I liked that I wouldn't have blown up if we weren't being so cruel. I feel like it's an important film in terms of it being the only fucking Marvel movie with a female lead.
Yeah,
bits of it feel forced to me. Overall, I think a lot of Samuel Jackson's bits feel a bit forced, and I can kind of tell that he's a bit old and they're trying to make him look and act young. And those are very small criticisms, but that's the only reason, again, I can have for getting rid of that.
I really like Captain Marvel as a character. I think it's the little smile she gives when she's about to kick someone's ass to a 90s girl band track that I quite enjoy.
That's all good stuff. She has a Nine Inch Nails t-shirt. And
yeah. But am I outvoted?
What? So I'm snapping it. Daisy?
I'm snapping it. I'm snapping it not because it has a strong female lead, purely because there are films that I prefer in this particular game.
I think I'm the same, and I don't know. Maybe tomorrow I'll want to settle down. Maybe if I
until
make
tomorrow,
I feel
I'll just keep moving on. Why does this show always turn into The Littlest Hobo?
It was an awesome show.
It was an awesome show.
It
was basically it was the Incredible Hulk TV show, but with a dog.
It sure was. Yeah. Right, that's Captain Marvel.
Okay.
We are getting rid of that one.
I'm outvoted.
All right. So now we move on to the first film that made in the franchise, Jon Favreau's Iron Man. I have to keep this one because it for me, it is the first film of a lot. And I watched them all recently. I rewatched it, and I think it still stands the test of time.
Yeah, I did. I watched it a few days ago. It's iconic still. It's not an amazing film in its own right. The battle at the end is a little bit... in the early Marvel films, there tended to be... like Iron Man versus Iron Man proxy, and sort of very similar.
It's so much better than the giving more of a game away where I'm going. But the other Iron Man films, and they've got Jeff Bridges. I love Jeff Bridges. Obviously,
he's good.
He's the dude, and he's a good villain, and he's actually a pretty well drawn villain as well. You know, the stuff he does makes sense. He turns out to be a bit mean, and then he turns out to be a bit meaner than you think, and then it turns out he's working with the terror. Yeah, exactly. And also the fight at the end doesn't go on for fucking ages.
It doesn't.
A fight between two robots, and then it's done.
Yeah.
Well, I read recently that apparently they were going to have the Mandarin originally in the first Iron Man film, and they were going to have Jeff Goldblum's character as a good guy for the first 2 or 3 films, and then he was going to possibly go bad after that.
Oh, really?
I don't know why they changed, but yeah.
Well, the terrorist cell that kidnapped Tony
they thought
Jeff Bridges, isn't it?
Yeah, Jeff Bridges. Sorry, they thought. I thought, I know we've got a much better idea for the Mandarin character. Anyway, I'm getting rid of myself.
Yeah, wait for it.
Okay, so
I have actually seen that one and thought it was good. Enjoyed it.
Okay,
so we save it.
Jesus.
Rich has an opinion, everyone.
Hey!
I sort of feel like I should apologise, Rich, but I'm just going to rip into you mercilessly.
No, you're fine.
You're
fine.
Yeah.
You're going to rip into him like he would rip into a McDonald's cheeseburger.
That's right. Yes. One of the 10 he has stored in his freezer compartment.
They're all gone. They've all been in.
Oh, God.
It's a dry spell. There's a dry spell in this part.
He just takes them out of the freezer and eats them like that. He doesn't even put them in the cooker or anything.
He just gums them till they're warm enough to swallow.
Do you put them in the oven or the microwave? I think this is
microwave.
Oh, fuck me!
Have we explained this to our listeners?
No, I think we should.
Okay, so here's the thing you shouldn't do, because I haven't tested it scientifically and I don't know whether it's safe, but I do it all the time. If you buy a McDonald's cheeseburger, you can freeze it and then reheat it in the microwave up to about 6 months later in 1 minute, and it tastes exactly the same as when you bought it from McDonald's. And if you like that McDonald's taste, which I do, it's the way to go. You put it 10 in at a time. Everyone else thinks I'm mental. Daisy thinks it's delicious, but he publicly says that I'm mental. I can't advise you to do it because it's probably not advisable, but it is delicious.
I've got an addendum to that story, is that you have also, one of our mutual friends called Vicky has posted you a McDonald's cheeseburger and you have eaten it straight out of the envelope.
Oh, brilliant. Oh, glorious. Rich, I'd also point out, you say it's not been scientifically tested. You are the scientific subjects in this case, and by the
Yeah.
look of you,
You
it's
are the
been
rat in the
fucking
maze.
tested. We have answers on this, and they aren't looking good,
It's
mate.
true. You have turned into a McDonald's cheeseburger that may or may not still be good in 6 months' time.
Okay.
As was said in a family chat the other day, I mentioned to my sister, I said, I was eating snacks and I ruined my dinner hours ago. And she said, mate, you ruined your dinner years ago.
You ruined your dinner in 1989.
Props to your sister. Shall we carry on?
I suppose.
Turn into
Right, so
bashing.
Rich's cheeseburger storage facility aside, we are, I think, we're keeping Iron Man. Are we all agreed?
Yeah,
keep
Iron
Iron
Man.
Man. Yep, good with that.
Okay, so moving on chronologically to Iron Man 2. Jason, tell me how you feel about this one.
This one, it's a really flat film. It's not terrible. I should probably preface all of this by saying I don't find any of the Marvel films terrible in any way. They all have their positive bits, but Iron Man 2 just falls flat. The villain's not particularly
dog shit has
great.
its positives, though. I mean, you can sort of fertilise some ground with it. It's not a ringing endorsement.
No, I know, but it's got its good moments. But yeah, the villain Ivan Vanko, Justin Hammer. Oh no, I love Sam Rockwell. I think he's amazing in pretty much everything he's been in, but it just doesn't quite gel together properly for me.
I think for me, the problem with Sam Rockwell in this film, and this is a criticism that's going to come back around for the Iron Man films, definitely, is that he starts well and he turns into a complete damp squib. I mean, his character literally ends that film stood next to a computer while Scarlett Johansson and Gwyneth Paltrow just solve the problem, and he kind of just starts gently weeping and looking like an upset teenager who's had his Game Boy stolen. Yeah. I mean, it's just
fair,
crap.
I would cry if you stole my Game Boy.
Yeah, and that's why you'd make a poor Marvel villain, my friend.
Yeah, Daisy, what do you think?
It's on my list of the Snap because, again, there's lots of better films in the series than that. I don't like the Whiplash character much in it. He didn't have enough dialogue, which apparently he did, but they cut a lot of it out.
Oh, really?
And again, the other guy in the suit. It's just like they tried to make a slightly different Tony Stark with him, and it was a bit, like Jason said, a bit flat.
There's no doubt for me that Sam Rockwell is excellent and plays that part excellently. I just think it's written badly. I think the end of the film is written
yeah. Oh, snapped, gone.
So that's gone. So the next one in order then is, I think, The Incredible Hulk. So The Incredible Hulk then, that's the second big Hulk film of modern times. Big, no pun intended.
I like it.
With Ed Norton. I have to say, I've never disliked this film. In fact, I've always enjoyed watching it. Tim Roth is a very good, I think he does a really good job in his weird Tim Roth way. He doesn't look much like a super soldier, but he gives a good performance and an interesting performance. But that said, I had to get rid of it because there were better films.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
that's where I went.
It's not amazing. It's not terrible, but it's snapped for me. Have you seen this one, Rich?
I have actually seen it. I seem to remember there was quite a lot of internet-y griping about it, wasn't there? But I actually
there was. Yeah,
liked Ed Norton. I mean, I like Ed Norton. I thought just the character was interesting, the way that he played it.
I've always expected, ever since it came out, I didn't buy the DVD when it very first came out, because I expected that kind of a year down the line there would be a director's cut, but it's never happened. It's never appeared, because apparently there's a lot of good stuff that was left on the cutting room floor.
It's interesting. I heard that when he got this film, Ed Norton just said, "Look, give me the script. I'm going to rewrite it." And that he rewrote certainly a lot of stuff to do with his character. I could be misremembering that because this was 10 years ago now, wasn't it?
Yeah. I think it's about right. More than 10. Yeah. But yeah, it's snapped for me.
Mm-hmm.
Daisy,
it's snapped.
Yeah, snap for me. I'm not a big fan of Edward Norton, and I didn't really like the film that much. It was a bit boring for me.
Okay.
And again, there are better films to keep.
Cool. Right.
All right. So that's The Incredible Hulk is gone. Moving on. Next, we have Thor. The first Thor movie, directed by Kenneth Branagh, darling.
Sorry.
What do we think of this one? Where were you on the first Thor movie? This was a tough decision for me.
It is a tough decision. I had to snap it in the end But it's just because it's an origin film, it's quite uneven in places. I'm not a big fan of Natalie Portman as Jane Foster. I think that she's a great actress. I don't know. I don't think she's very well written. Anything with her, she's supposed to be this amazing scientist who knows everything. But as soon as this big muscly man comes along with fabulous hair, she goes all gooey and spends the next.
To be fair, I think he has that effect on quite a lot of women.
He has that effect on me to a certain extent, but I don't think that I would give up all of my brains.
My big problem with this film is that, and I've seen it a few times, and I don't dislike it, and I'm snapping it too, but would have kept it under other circumstances. I like that it's got Coulson in. I like that it's got Jeremy Renner's first appearance in. There's a little teaser there for later.
I forgot until I watched it the other day.
The thing about this film that's not good is that the film shows the entirety of Thor's character development arc. His whole arc is in one scene where he gets some scrambled egg. He's got a towel on his shoulder and he gets some scrambled eggs that someone else has cooked, puts them in front of people. And they say thank you to him, and he smiles. And that's how he learns to be a real human being. That character's human.
I said to Lisa when we were watching it the other day, he's got a towel over his shoulder and he presents it to them, but all he's got is 2 bits of fucking toast on the plate, which aren't even buttered. Jane Foster's making a scrambled egg. What the fuck have you actually done there? Don't waltz up with your towel over going, oh.
It's pretty hastily drawn.
But he can wield Mjolnir, so, swings and roundabouts, you picky fuckers.
What I really enjoyed, I'd completely forgotten that Kat Dennings' character calls Mjolnir Meow Meow. Meow Meow. She constantly refers to it as Meow Meow.
That's a character from Star Wars, isn't it? Yeah.
Daisy, how do you feel about the first Thor film?
I'm keeping Thor.
Okay.
Benny, have you seen Thor?
I have seen Thor. I don't remember very much about it. I seem to remember enjoying it. My vote is basically worthless in this game, but I would keep it.
Okay, right. So we've got a draw on Thor at the minute. Should we come back to it?
a no Thor draw. Okay, so we're a little bit divided on Thor. It's interesting. So moving on then from Thor to the first Avengers movie, aka Avengers Assemble. Rich, have you seen this one? Tell me you've seen the first fucking Avengers movie.
I believe I have seen the first Avengers movie. I am now going to have to Google it to see if I have really seen
Fuck's sake.
Shall I talk to anyone else
talk
while
amongst
you...
yourselves.
Yeah.
All right.
Daisy, go.
Keep it. Just for the Hulk Loki scene at the end of the skyscraper, you've got to keep it.
Puny God.
Puny God.
It's great fun, isn't it? It sags a bit in the middle, but so do I.
Not unlike you.
Yeah, I beat you to it, mate.
Is this the one where loads of metal snakes come out of the sky? And I don't mean Picard.
Exactly, they are metal snakes from the sky. That's exactly
angry
right.
metal space snakes.
So, yeah, I thought it was all right.
I don't see how that's a party.
Well, this all looks horrible.
And that's the first film though where we see the new Hulk, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Played by Mark Ruffalo, the Gruffalo.
Yeah, he's great as well. I like Ed Norton. I think he's a great actor. But Mark Ruffalo just owns that character completely now for me.
Inspired casting, wasn't it? Really, and not what your first thought would have been for that role. I think.
Not at all.
I think what I like about that Avengers movie, well, the first two really, they're directed by Joss Whedon, and I like just how great it was to see on the big screen and huge budget. As someone who watched Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Angel and those other Joss Whedon shows, how great he is at kind of putting an ensemble together and giving a variety of characters a really good amount of space to exist and be characterful and discover themselves in an ensemble story, which is not easy, but he did it very well with those films, good. I think. So we were just wrapping up about the Avengers. So it sounds to me like the first Avengers movie, aka Avengers Assemble, is staying in the Marvel universe.
Yep.
It doesn't get turned into ash.
Okay.
Cool. So this moves us on to, chronologically, Iron Man 3. I'm going to save my opinion of this film and let others tell me about it. So
I'm warming up my muscles for the fight.
I'll go first.
Who wants
really
to go
quick.
first?
I'll go first really quickly.
Daisy.
I'm going to get rid of it because I really don't like how they handled the Mandarin character. Goodbye. See you later.
I'm going to keep it because I found that the way they handled the Mandarin character to be entertaining and fun.
It's one of the biggest wastes of a character in the Marvel universe of all time.
That's not to say that the real Mandarin can't turn up. It's just that Killian
but
Aldrich.
when you promise the Mandarin character and then you deliver that, that's basically like, I'm going to bring you some food, and then they turn up with a McDonald's. You're like, oh, for fuck's sake.
That sounds like
Is it frozen? I really
Oh,
enjoyed
shit.
the fact that it actually subverted expectations. The fact that it led you down a certain path and then doubled back on itself. And what I really like
Last
about
Jedi
it,
argument. Oh, it's subverted my expectations, therefore it's good somehow because
No,
I'm
no.
an unimaginative shit brick.
no,
Woo!
no, because there were no slow motion spaceship chases in this one.
With this argument that you're saying, you are flirting dangerously close to the surface of a certain asteroid in front of a certain
There were no.
battle station.
Oh dear.
What did you say,
Go on,
Jason?
Tom.
There were no slow motion. What?
There were no slow motion spaceship chases.
No, but there was a slow motion. Lots of helicopters turn up from nowhere because Tony Stark didn't remember to turn his fucking radar on and blow up his house in slow motion. That was beautiful slow motion.
It did amuse me just how much of his house there was, because it seemed to be exploding and falling into the sea for a very long time. I'm not saying it's a perfect film by any means, don't get me wrong. I think when I got to about 7 or 8 or 9, in ordinary circumstances, I probably would have snapped away Iron Man 3, but I built this hill to die on, and I'm going to fucking well defend it. What I like about it more than any of the other Iron Man films is it gives you Iron Man stripped bare. I don't mean he's naked. For a significant portion of the time, you have to see Tony Stark operating on his own devices. And after having been through...
Except for the first half of the first film, you mean, where it's literally all that.
No, but
That's
he's
happens.
building himself up then. This is him deconstructed. And what I like the ending, the fact that it's not just him versus another Iron Man. It's him versus somebody who actually is very, very dangerous. There is a real possibility that Aldrich Killian... there is a real
angry man.
Yeah, the big fiery angry man. There is a real danger that he could actually kill Tony Stark.
Even more reason to wonder why he doesn't just fucking ring the Hulk or Captain Archery or any of the rest of the Avengers.
Can I say that's a better name for him than Hawkeye, Captain Archery.
I was so apoplectic, I forgot his name. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
No, that's a much better name. I prefer that.
Captain Archery. Pyong. Rich, have you seen this one?
Iron Man 3, no.
I despise Iron Man 3. I rewatched them more recently, and I thought I hated Iron Man 2 and 3. Rewatching number 2, it's flawed, but there are things about it that I didn't hate as much. Iron Man 3 sucks. The plot essentially takes repeated giant turds on its audience. It just shits down your throat.
Diabetically enhanced.
You know, exactly.
Mandarin-sized turds, if you will.
The Mandarin point is a good one. The reveal, it's just a rug pull, isn't it? It's just a fuck you audience. He's actually a dickhead called Trevor.
Trevor Slattery.
I mean,
not Tony Slattery.
The rug pull. I tell you what, the rug pull might have worked if Guy Pearce as a villain was slightly less of a crappy, badly drawn cartoon cutout for most of the film, but he's not. He sucks as well. The first half of the film, he's like a twitching mad genius, dull as dishwater stereotype. And for the second half of the film, he's revenge porn bicep vomit covered in flames. I mean, they're both. That's it. The second half of the film is just, I'm so angry and I can go on fire. Ugh!
I'll take your point on that. I don't think he's a very good villain. I think his henchman, played by James Badge Dale, who I know from the Pacific TV show, he's really good, actually. He's quite menacing.
Okay, he was slightly more interesting.
Yeah. But it's just...
They did nothing with him.
Yeah,
Tom.
no, I mean, he did a bit more. I think it's almost like his henchmen ended up doing more than he did himself as a villain.
Tom, can I just thank you for gifting us with the phrase revenge porn bicep vomit?
Yes, you can.
Thank you.
Daisy, I'm going to take that. I'm going to take that from the camera, from the microphone. I'm going to put it next to my heart. And then
Good. Keep it.
I'm glad.
For a bit.
Something
Thank
you
you very
should never
much.
type into.
Well done.
It's
What I love
supposed
about
to
this show
encompass
is that
that
we get
thing
to
of
give
like,
to the
you know,
world.
just the flexing and that's the whole fucking character that's going on.
Yeah, so I think we can all agree that Iron Man 3 is going to get snapped.
Well, I
haven't
disagree,
finished
but I'm
talking about why I
outnumbered.
hate it.
Oh, Christ.
Plot problems that shit on you. Number one, how does he find that kid's house? He just randomly walks into some kid's house that happens to, this random house I'm going to break into looks like it's got a basement workshop. Hopefully there'll be a plucky psychic 11-year-old living in it who won't react with fear and alarm that there's a complete stranger in the house. Sure.
Yeah.
Why
you could
not?
apply the same logic to, how come that weird-looking alien ends up in the house of that kid who's going to look after him and then help him escape on a bicycle? You know, it's plot, isn't it? It's just story.
Ouch. To be fair, any house in that kind of area of America will probably have a basement for covering of hurricanes and tornadoes, but, you know.
Okay, well, all right. It doesn't work for me. The Mandarin thing, I fucking hated it because I hated the whole scene where Iron Man decides that rather than summon up one of his other 20 Iron Man suits, he decides to go to a hardware store and builds himself some really shit equipment because they're trying to hark back to him in the first film. And then he runs into the house, uses this crappy sub-Iron Man equipment to break in for some reason because Robert Downey Jr. wanted to show off his Wing Chun skills. And then he bumps into the Mandarin, and that turns into like this weird 20-minute sitcom which is an exchange that feels like it's from one of the lesser episodes of Only Fools and Horses. I mean, that's that's the makes of this film going, ha, isn't this great, audience? We fucked you up the nose.
Fucking arseholes, that bit.
Really, really pissed me off.
Literally shitheads.
And why does Iron Man wait for 2/3 of the film before he taps his watch? As I've already said, he could have rung in a fucking Avenger at any time to help him solve the problem. Why does he wait for 2/3 of the film to summon his massive flying army of Iron Man suits? There is because there's a heavy rock on it. Anyway, that for me, it makes the first half of the film completely pointless. There was no reason for him to go through all that supposed catharsis that Jason enjoyed. It was just
Jason.
Yes,
terrible. Anyway.
Shut up, Jason.
Your bicep.
Shut up, Wesley.
Right.
All right, I'll shut up at Iron Man 3. Jason, you're keeping it.
I'm right. I'm keeping it, but I'm outnumbered. Okay, let's talk very briefly about Thor: The Dark World.
Let's rattle on. Thor: The Dark World. It's not great. I'm snapping it.
Oh God! The thing is, I literally watched this one last night. What I determined was that the film is about 45 minutes too long. There are some really, really good bits in it. There's some really nice visual stuff. There's the whole scene where his mum gets killed, Frigga, and they give her the Viking burial. That looks amazing. You can tell in many instances that it's been directed by someone who's kind of cut his teeth on Game of Thrones. There's some really good gritty kind of Viking stuff in there. There's some nice little comedic bits as well where he hangs up his hammer as he comes into the flat where he's on the underground. But it doesn't work together and it just drags. And like I say, it's about 45 minutes too long, and it's a film that's only an hour and 45. To
be fair, if you cut out all the scenes with Natalie Portman's character in it, makes it a lot more watchable.
Yeah, and this goes back to what I said about Jane Foster really in the first one. Yeah. They make her even, like the very first introduction to her in this one, they literally say that she's been pining after Iron Man so much that she's now living with her mum, and she's no longer working on any scientific stuff, because that's what happens when strange men come into your life for a day and
I'd
then
pine
disappear.
I'd pine if I lost Thor.
But I think you would eventually
would you
get
Chris
on with
Pine
your
and
life.
just swip to
Pining with Chris Pine. That would be a good album.
Yeah. But I think it just doesn't work for me. It's not real enough.
No.
She's
Natalie
a clever.
Portman
She's
really
supposed to be a
struggles,
clever
doesn't
person.
I think Natalie Portman. I think it's probably luck because I do think she's a good actor.
She's a good actress.
I like a lot of her stuff, but I think she really struggles with these big franchises. I think she had bad luck with them. I think the same applies to Star Wars, really.
Yeah.
We can probably just blame how shit a lot of women's. We can probably just blame how badly written a lot of women's roles are. She is a badass character until
she dies of heartbreak.
Exactly. Yeah.
Ultimately, get rid of it because there are a lot better films to keep.
Yeah, 100%.
Absolutely. All right, let's move on. Thor: The Dark World, we agree, is snapped. So next is Captain America: The Winter Soldier. I'm just going to very quickly say that I love The Winter Soldier. I think it's excellent.
One of my favorites.
I think it's part of the the spine of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and I think you absolutely have to keep it. It feels almost like a Cold War thriller. It's so exciting.
Yeah, it is.
The action is so great. It's just great.
I've got
really
to say, I would snap it from my own personal list purely because there are films. There were other films I would want to keep over that, and it is a good film, but there are other films I prefer.
Personally, I mean, I'm with Tom on the Captain America films in that I think those 3 Captain America films are the best trilogy of films in terms of the cat and the arc that the character goes through. And until Civil War came along, Winter Soldier was my favourite. So yeah, I couldn't get rid of Winter Soldier. I think it's brilliant. It's got that kind of Cold War feel to it. I like it.
So that's Captain America. Daisy, controversially, perhaps? It's going to snap that one away?
No, there's nothing wrong with the film. I like it. It's just there are films I like more in this list of ones I have to keep.
Fair enough.
Okay, but I'm just generating controversy for the excitement.
Okay, yes,
Daisy,
fuck
you
Winter
tit.
Soldier. It's the worst Marvel film ever made.
God damn! Grr, arg!
Yeah. Winter Soldier, bloody Mentor Soldier, more like.
Bloody Mentos Soldier.
Yeah. Mental Soldier.
Good. I can feel the hate spreading.
All right. So Winter Soldier, good, but not good enough for Daisy. Moving on to the first Guardians of the Galaxy film. Who would like to talk about this one? Have you seen Guardians of the Galaxy, Rich?
I have. I've seen 1 and 2. I loved 1. Thought it was great. Brilliant.
Yeah.
Thought it was just such a fun film to watch. I know they're all meant to be entertaining, but the whole thing had a feel good thing for me. And just his character is just him, wanting to be called Star-Lord. I know it's written into the character, not necessarily the movie, but everything about that film, love it.
Yeah, I agree.
I agree. I think that's where I know there's a little bit in the first Avengers film, but for me, that's where the first loads of really good humor and clever humor comes into that film, and then is then put into other Avengers films and films after that. Thor Ragnarok being one of the main ones, but that's a fantastic film. Got to keep it.
Yeah. Favorite character in that film?
I mean, it's really obvious to say Groot, isn't it? But I do love, I love Rocket.
Yeah, Rocket,
not
probably.
Just the lettuce. I do love Rocket the lettuce, and I love spaceships. There's something about
it's hard
rockets.
To pick because
Rocket
such
ice
a good
lollies
ensemble.
are amazing as well. But Rocket Raccoon, definitely.
Yeah, I'd go with that.
Yeah, all rockets.
I think it's hard to pick because it's such a good ensemble. I mean, I think Drax comes out with
Drax
some
is brilliant.
amazing stuff.
Rocket fireworks.
I mean, the first time I heard him say, "Nothing could go over my head," I would catch it. The reflexes are too fast. That is comedy genius. That is comedy, and he's a fucking wrestler.
He's a wrestler. He does it so well, doesn't he?
So we're all keeping that fabulous. Okay, moving on to Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
It's good, but it has to go because I had to get rid of something.
Do you know what? I was in exactly the same boat, and it hurts me because this film has Kurt Russell in, and Kurt Russell. I mean, we've already mentioned The Thing and Big Trouble in Little China as being always permanently ensconced in my top 5 movies of all time, and that will never ever change. And I love him, but it's because it's so much more of the same, and that's not necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah,
other films had to take precedence.
Yeah. It just has to. It has to go because there are better films.
Galaxy, and you had them both lying around. You just pick up one, though, wouldn't you? And put it.
Yeah, of course you would. Yeah.
So, do you know what I think? One thing for the second film for me is that all the action denouement towards the end, it has the problem that a few MCU films have, is that it just gets so big and so mental,
crash bang,
that it kind of becomes a bit meaningless. And what I said about Kurt Russell, I do love him. I think he's great in that movie. He's very well cast. But by the end of it, it's not him. It's just a weird CGI planet blob.
Yeah, Ego, the living planet.
Blue thing.
Yeah.
That's so it's not as engaging.
That's probably going to bring us on to.
That does have one of the best lines in all of Marvel, though. That film.
Which
one?
Yeah.
Up Mary Poppins, y'all.
Oh God, of course.
Yeah,
his character was the best thing about that film, isn't it?
He was brilliant. Yeah.
Yondu.
Yeah, but that said, compared to some of the other films that I want to keep, I only need the first one.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Okay, so what's next then?
Age of Ultron.
God, is it Age of Ultron? Gosh,
Yeah.
that just seems so incongruous. All right, okay.
Yeah, it does. And that's
Kate.
probably what. Oh,
Yeah.
oh, I would
Kate?
snap over. I would snap
Kate.
Age of Ultron.
Ooh.
Yeah,
Not
but you're-
because it's a
you're
bad film, but it does.
You
It
think
drags
there are
a
better
bit.
ones?
Yeah, it drags a bit. It's not the best Avengers film out of them all. If you want that sense of who the Avengers are, you would watch either Infinity War or the first one.
all I can say
I
is
have to disagree.
asteroid Death Star population, Jason.
It's the second Joss Whedon film, and I know that this is the one that he fell out with the Marvel Studios over because he just got so sick of them forcing him to crowbar new character elements and whatever and vision. But I think he did it so well, and again I think it really shows Whedon's mastery of cramming so much key character into just a tiny moment. And for me, in this one, the tiny moment is the speech that Vision's giving to everybody and saying, paraphrasing, but I can't prove to you that I'm an incredibly good guy, but we've got work to do. And then he just hands Thor his hammer.
Yeah.
And they all just stop and stare at him. Like, a whole speech about how they might doubt whether he's worthy or not after all the AI discussions and whatever. And just that one simple thing, having already set it up earlier on in the film by showing Captain America wiggle it slightly, Chekhov's hammer, Chekhov's Mjolnir, that is Whedon's work at its finest.
Any film with Paul Bettany in it is amazing. So
yeah, I love Avengers: Age of Ultron. I just it was one of those.
I just think it has some of the most poignant, well-crafted, well-written stuff in the Marvel universe, like the final confrontation between Vision and Ultron. And Ultron says, they're doomed," and Vision says, "Yes, but there is grace in their failings." I mean,
yeah,
ooh,
it's good.
All right,
I'm clearly
Jason's
a bell
wrong.
end. Yeah.
But we'll move on. Okay, that's Avengers: Age of Ultron. Now we come to Ant-Man. I'll start by saying that I find both Ant-Man films a bit boring. I have watched them all recently. Paul Rudd's great. I don't think Michael Douglas does much that's very exciting in them. They're just forgettable. For Marvel movies, I find them really forgettable. And that's not a good sign.
I like both of them. I have snapped this one simply because there are better films. I find them fun and I find them entertaining. I think the first one fails on the fact that it is once again yet another kind of, it's someone in a similar kind of suit and they're going at each other. It's a bit Iron Man. It's a bit Incredible Hulk in that respect.
It's pretty dull.
It's not amazing. It's got some really cool bits. And Paul Rudd, God bless his never-aging arse, is really good as Ant-Man. I think he does a really good job. But I have snapped away.
Ant-Man, Daisy.
I have snapped.
I'm not saying you're Ant-Man, Daisy. I'm asking for your thoughts.
That would be fucking amazing if I was. I have snapped it because, similar with Iron Man 3, I really didn't like how they decided to have the Hank Pym character. I think they've wasted another really good character in the comics.
Yeah. It wasn't bad, but it's just nothing.
The character design in that took a lot away from me, enjoyment of the film. It's good, it's all right, but again, it's one of the weaker ones in the series.
Although Ant-Man is a very good character in the next film we're going to talk about, which is Captain America: Civil War. We can talk about how much we all love this film. I assume I will start by saying I love this film. It might, if you press me, if you squash me in a trash compactor and said pick one, I might pick this one as my favourite of all the films.
It is the best.
I'm not going to press you. I do agree.
Yeah, I take no pressing. It's my favourite one.
Really? We three who give a shit are all agreed on that.
Yeah, that's not it's not my favourite one, but keep it.
It's not your favourite one. No, okay, right. Okay.
It is. It's absolutely my favourite one.
Okay.
Yeah. I
Jason,
could
I hate
go
when
on.
we agree. It's really boring.
I know. I'm sorry.
Iron Man 3 again.
It juggles so well the different characters whilst still making it a Captain America film. It's
really interesting that this was now, correct me if I'm wrong, this was the first one that the Russo brothers did, wasn't it?
It is. It's correct, yes.
Yeah. Total sidebar, but I've recently rewatching Community because I found it on Netflix and enjoying it and going, oh shit, that's these guys, and just sort of going, oh yeah, I can see why they can just grab a lump of something genre related and smush it into a format involving these characters, and they do it in a different way to Joss Whedon did. But I can see how they coped with the Marvel juggernaut of a franchise better because they worry less and do more rather than try and really craft beautiful bits of character, which I think Joss Whedon did so well in the first two.
That's a great way of putting it. Actually, no,
films.
hang on. We're wrong. The Russo brothers first directed Winter Soldier.
Oh, they Winter Soldier. Okay,
Yeah,
well, there you go.
because on the boat.
This is the one where they really hit their stride, I think.
Yeah. Danny Pudi is in Winter Soldier as a shield agent.
He is.
Yeah. On the boat at the start.
Rich, have you seen Captain America: Civil War?
No, I haven't watched any of the Captain America films out of as a protest against America.
Now, I tell you what,
and captains.
Yeah. Funnily enough, when the Captain America sort of was first released in the first film, I kind of thought, it's just going to be all a bit jingoistic and a bit tub thumping bollocks. But they're really not. They actually deconstruct the myth of the American patriot quite well, especially
that was a very
Civil War.
flat joke, by the way.
Oh, okay.
That's not the reason I haven't seen
shit.
it.
You said some stuff because we forced you, and now we're going to explain in film theory detail why you're fucking wrong. And Rich, you can go back to sleep, which is all you want.
Yeah. Rich, as this podcast isn't live, what we can actually do is you can actually go away and watch Captain America: Civil War, and then come back.
Well,
with an opinion, if you felt like it.
So if we just go silent for a few seconds, I can then cut it. So we're silent.
All right.
So, Rich, how did you enjoy Captain America: Civil War?
I haven't watched any of the Captain America films.
You fucking idiot! Jesus, we've just sat downstairs for 3 hours.
It's a man or beast.
You moron.
Okay, all right. Daisy, we talked a lot because we're loud and terrible. Have you got any thoughts on Civil War?
To be fair, you didn't really give me any opening to say something humorous, so I didn't really say anything at all. I like it. Let's keep it.
Mm-hmm.
Next.
Okay. Moving swiftly on. Doctor Strange.
I've seen it. Woo!
Hey!
Oh, wow!
Yeah.
Snap.
Go on.
I thought it was pretty good. I actually thought that old Benadryl Cabbage Patch was quite well suited to that role.
I'm snapping it on the. Yeah, I'm
snapping it.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Not as good as it's a harsh list and it doesn't make the cut.
Yeah.
There are better films.
Yeah, I agree. Unfortunately,
visually stunning. It's just another origin story.
You don't see Thanos apologising to everyone he snapped out, and I'm not going to apologise for snapping that out. So
that's a good argument. So basically, you're just going to snap and then not justify your opinions.
Yeah.
I like it.
Eat snaps and leaves.
Yeah, to be fair, I've got the Death Star to back up my opinion. So
okay.
I don't think it's bad, but I think I have to snap it because the next film that we come to is Black Panther, and
it's a snap.
Oh, chronologically.
I have to keep Black Panther because it's just it's too cool.
Bomb.
It's too cool for school. It's flawed. But of all the flawed ones who are maybes, I'm keeping this one.
Yeah, I like it. It's got some really cool stuff. Oh,
Daisy.
Out of the whole list, and I went with 23, I got to 10.5 films to snap.
I was going to say, is anyone keeping count of Daisy's? Because I feel like he snapped them all.
No, I haven't. I'm snapping my own personal list. I'm snapping half of Black Panther.
Oh.
And the half of the Black Panther I'm snapping is whenever he's in costume because it is CGI bullshit and it's really crap.
Oh,
the rest of the film is amazing, visually awesome, really well acted. When they do the fight scene, it's probably the least believable fight scene of any Marvel film I've seen, just because the CGI is so poor in it.
I agree.
Like backflipping on a moving vehicle. Do I remember that?
Like on a maglev, next to a maglev train.
Oh, the whole finale.
Yeah,
even when they have Black Panther in the other Marvel film before Black Panther, he's entirely CGI in that suit in that one, but it was much better effects.
Yeah.
He looked more real. And in Black Panther, whenever he's in the suit, he doesn't look real to me. And
this goes back to that whole argument about CGI being put into a kind of a real environment. CGI almost looks better where like the fight scene at the airport in Civil War, he's in amongst lots of other CGI characters, but he's in a real environment. Whereas in the end of Black Panther, he's in an entirely CGI environment, so it just looks very cartoonish.
They could at least put sensors on the actor's torso to then get a little bit of realistic. But they don't do that at all. It's pure CGI, and it looks awful.
I saw a really interesting YouTube video about this, and I'll try and find a link to it to share at some point. But the CGI in Black Panther is poor because he isn't given weight. He doesn't fall at the right speed. He doesn't move in the right way, and they just fail to get the physics right completely. Yeah. And having watched it since seeing that critique, I can completely understand. It doesn't really look like he's there.
Overall, it's not a bad film, but it does suffer from that from that MCU origin film problem of just being one character versus a very similar
bad version of himself.
Yeah.
Some debate there about those films. I've lost my list. Here we go. So, Spider-Man: Homecoming. Yay or nay?
I love it.
Yay, really good film.
Really good, enjoyable.
I've got to check my list to see if I kept it or not. I'm keeping this one. Yeah,
and he is also my favourite iteration of Spider-Man.
It's got the original Tim Burton's Batman in it as well. As a bad guy who's kind of a weird flying guy.
And it's got Donald Glover in it as well.
Oh yeah, of course.
Ryan Abbott in the morning.
Okay, so we're agreed on Spider-Man: Homecoming.
Yeah, and I thought that would be controversial.
Rich, have you seen that one?
I have no idea whether I've seen that. How do you tell any of the Spider-Man films apart?
Wow. This one's got the Vulture in it, who's a flying bad guy.
Anyway, so I have no opinion on that because I can't remember whether I've seen it or not.
Okay.
You're a joke of a human.
Right, good to know. All right, so we keep keeping that one. Fair enough. Next is Thor: Ragnarok.
Love it.
My favourite.
I feel this is going to be very uncontroversial. Yeah, definitely keeping it.
Daisy, you might know whether I've seen this. Did we watch that at Geek Retreat?
I can't remember.
It's got Jeff Goldblum in it, Rich.
Jeff Goldblum.
I'm sorry, at what?
We used to have an annual holiday, and we'd call it Geek Retreat, where we would go away to a villa with a hot tub, and we'd play board games, drink lots of alcohol, and geek.
Yeah. I remember. I got my invite last year.
They didn't. You like Iron Man 3? It would just be the hot tub conversation would just be too awkward.
Hello, my name's Cork. I'm made of rocks, as you can see.
Oh, he's dead. I may have squashed him a little bit.
I know him. He's a friend from work.
Brilliant. Okay, we could quote it all day, but we need to move on.
Moving on then to Ant-Man and the Wasp. It's a snap for me because it's like the first one, except slightly more boring.
Yeah, snap for me.
Again, liked it, but has to go because there's other stuff that's better.
I'm guessing
Have you seen that, Rich?
Hasn't seen that one.
I thought Jay Leno was a poor Joker.
Whereas you, my friend, are an excellent one. Because you're so funny. Okay, Ant-Man and the Wasp, we are snapping away. We've already talked about the first Ant-Man. We don't need to talk about that film, and that is kind of a sad indictment of the sequel. Moving on to, so now it's Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame. We could probably talk about them both at the same time. You're either keeping them both or you're getting rid of them both, I would imagine. No, am I wrong?
Keeping
them both from Daisy. I'm keeping them both, Jason.
This is a pure numbers thing, and this is entirely because I chose to die on the hill of Iron Man 3.
I just need to power up the Death Star simulator. Bear with me.
Yeah, I
just want to remind everyone of your review of Die Hard 4. Just to put your opinions into context.
You prefer another target, a military target, then name the system.
Right. Let me get something.
Come on
straight.
then, Jason.
All right.
Dig yourself a fucking hole.
Infinity War is my second favourite Marvel film.
A spoonful of honey first.
Yeah. I cannot fault it in any way, shape, or form. Endgame is a really good film, but it's not as good as Infinity War, and purely
But they killed Black Widow. Surely that's a good reason to like it.
No, I do. I love Endgame. I think it's absolutely amazing, and it has some amazing moments, particularly at the end. The big battle against everyone and Avengers assemble. And when I watch a film in the cinema, I'm normally quite kind of British. But when when Captain America picked up the hammer, I cheered out loud. And even just now talking about it and thinking about it, I'm beginning to regret my own decision.
I was cheering for Black Widow and Hawkeye to both throw themselves off the cliff at once. But alas, it didn't happen.
Endgame, I can't even justify it.
I don't have to choose between them because I've got the list correct, so I'm keeping both of them.
What was the one we disagreed about earlier?
Iron Man, I'll take your pick. Iron Man 3, Doctor Strange.
It was really hard, but yeah, I've snapped away Endgame purely because
You felt like you could keep one but not the other. All right.
and I
think
guess
that's nonsense, but fine.
it's bullshit. But if you could, if you could end the story on Infinity War and just leave it there, that would be quite cool.
I'm prepared to accept that, and I'm prepared to accept it as long as we can all agree that the story ends with Thanos winning, and the Avengers Infinity War is Thanos' story, and that's why it works as a film.
Yeah, that's
I think a lot of people just don't get about that film.
100%. Endgame is an amazing film, but there were just a couple of others that I wanted to keep, and one of those is Iron Man 3.
Iron Man 3. Oh dear. All right.
Entirely because I chose to defend Iron Man 3 a few weeks ago on a WhatsApp conversation, I now have to snap Avengers Endgame away.
I suppose there's a certain irony in the kind of the film that's all about the consequences of the snap being a casualty of our snap. I suppose we can all, I mean, not enjoy's a strong word.
Has Jason just made this entire podcast fucking pointless because he snapped the fucking film where it does the snap?
No, I've snapped away the one where they undo the snap.
Does he make it more pointless than he normally does? That's a question for another day.
Has he out-pointlessed me? You know, these are questions that
hang on.
may never be answered.
Philosophers will ponder until at least tea time. Right, does anybody have an opinion on Spider-Man Far From Home, which is the last Marvel Multiverse movie currently in existence?
It's my favourite Spider-Man film. I know there's not been many, but it's very, very good. And I love how they've done Mysterio as a character. And Jake Gyllenhaal is really good in it.
Yeah, the way that they did the whole kind of bait and switch with his character.
That's how you properly do that sort of character. Not like Iron Man fucking 3.
Yeah, I agree. I really like the bait and switch. I'll be honest, I had to snap it because there were other films that I preferred. And also, I think this is another film which is a good example of a multiverse film, and generally a big action film, where the CGI battle at the end just becomes meaningless. There's all those hundreds of thousands of drones and Iron Man swinging between them, getting them to blow each other up. And it's just, it's nowhere near as interesting as the action that happens earlier and in the middle of the film because it's silly and it loses the impetus. Pretty much for that reason alone, I'm prepared to snap this one.
I didn't include Spider-Man Far From Home because I went with the original 22 film Infinity Saga. So are you saying that I could have kept Endgame?
Too late, you made a choice.
Oh, for fuck's sake! Ooh.
Oh, you don't get to take back a snap, Jason. You've snapped it, right?
I think you'll find that if I go back in time, collect some Infinity Stones, make my own Infinity Gauntlet.
But you can't do that, Jason, because you got rid of the film that happens in. So you're fucked.
You silly goose!
Can't argue the logic.
Oh shit!
Oh, good. Okay. So we can all agree, Jason's a fucking idiot.
Hoisted by my own petard.
He made
hoisted by your own Picard.
Yeah.
That's a waste of that joke, and I'm definitely going to make that pun again when we have a conversation about Star Trek.
I'll cut it out.
Putting it out there now.
Okay.
Right.
Cool.
Okay. Well, that, ladies and gentlemen, was the Snappening, and we've snappinated mildly different choices, mostly agreement, some disagreement, and of course, Jason's putting Iron Man 3 for presumably comedy value, because there can't be any other reason why he would have done that. But some very tough choices in getting rid of some of those films over others. But I thought it was an interesting discussion and dissection because it made me evaluate a lot of those films more critically than I had done in the past.
Yeah.
I think you would say it made you evaluate your friendship with Jason.
Made me evaluate my life choices.
Don't do that.
That's it, I think, isn't it, guys?
Yeah.
I feel emotionally exhausted.
What I really like about this was that this was supposed to be our shortest podcast.
Yeah.
Let's do that really quick thing. Let's do that really quick thing. And then we end up spending 2 fucking hours talking about absolute bullshit.
We're idiots. Oh, yeah, let's talk about 23 films. That'll only take 45 minutes. Dirt brains.
Last words from me. Iron Man 3 is Bantha Poodoo.
Okay.
Definitely.
Well, cool.
All right, so Thank you very much for listening. Thank you to my co-hosts, Rich, Jason, and Daisy. My name's Tom. This was my idea, and I apologise unremittingly for this and for every other terrible idea I ever have that will contribute to this nonsense. Do tune in next time.